but specifically the main event of the event, because for the second week in a row, the main event ended in very quick succession due to a terrible injury sustained by one of the fighters. So, main event of this fight night, Curtis Blaydes took on Tom Aspinall, the hometown boy, at the O2 in London. And about 15 seconds into the very first round, Tom Aspinall, he threw a knee, then he threw a couple of kicks, and the second kick, he went back on his right leg, stepped back on his right leg, and immediately went down, grabbing his knee. And, he messed up his knee somehow. There's a lot of weight moving around in there, and I guess something tweaked, and who knows. So the fight ended by TKO via knee injury. Counts as a win for Curtis Blaydes. Sucks, though. Curtis Blaydes said in the post-fight, he'll take the win, he'll move on, but not the way that he wants to win. It's not like anyone's ever going to be talking about this win over Tom Aspinall. So, Omar, let me throw it over to you first. Do you have any kind of assessment of technique in those first 10 seconds of the fight?
I mean, not really, man. Right? What can you really break down? His leg kick was solid. I think the real problem was kind of where I would imagine, just based off of, we don't know any updates about the injury. There's no real details about exactly what happened. So I'm really just going off of kind of what it looked like in the video, and it just looked like where the shin would hit the thigh, it seemed like his knee might have been a little bit closer than it should have been, and it might have kind of impacted on Curtis's knee as well, or his leg, and it might have done something there. It might have shifted something, or broke something, or torn something.
Do you think he hurt his knee on the kick impact or on stepping back on the leg?
To me, it looked like a result of the kick that he then felt when he stepped back, but it looked like a result of the kick. But again, there was, the Ratchik one, we saw the dude's knee literally popping in and out, right? Like we saw.
Oh, no, don't tell me that. I can't.
We've seen last week Ortega's arm literally popped out of his shoulder. So like there's ones that are a little bit easier to figure out. They're a lot more visible. This one was just a lot more difficult to really pinpoint what happened, because it didn't, even in the replay, it didn't look like anything was shifting out of place or looking improper. So kind of hard to say exactly what happened. One thing we can be sure of is Tom Aspinall looked like he was in more pain than any fight he's ever been in his life. So
That's true. Mark, what's going on with you, man? Mark must be in a pretty dark place for the second week in a row. One of his guys in a main event went down with an injury. So, Mark, tell us where you're at.
I was just going to say, I thought it was bad watching this happen to Brian Ortega last week. This felt even worse, because at least like Ortega already has had his title shots and stuff, and I was like, oh, I'm sure he'll be back. My man Aspinall, I'm like waiting for him to break through. Here we go. We're getting to the title, and now, boom! Like, just it sucks. It sucks. And now who knows how long he's going to be out? Now I got to worry.
Yeah.
I'm saying I got to worry. He's got to worry about if he's even going to be the same guy when he comes back from this injury. So, it's just, it sucks. I can't believe this has happened 2 weeks in a row, back-to-back weeks. Both main events in the first round. If I'm Juliana Pena and Amanda Nunes right now, I'm absolutely panicking. But hopefully the streak will end with them. This sucks. We got nothing out of the fight. As you guys were saying, the injury didn't even really make sense. Like, you watch it and you're like, I don't even know what just happened. The guy was on a meteoric rise up the heavyweight division, and a win here would have had him knocking on the door of a title shot, maybe one fight away. Like I've been saying, I really thought he was going to be the next champ, and now all that momentum is squashed, and we just have to see how he looks when he comes back. Hopefully he heals well. Hopefully it's not as bad as it looked, but it looked pretty damn bad. As Omar said, that man was in a lot of pain. You don't see people in that much pain that often. He was struggling in there, and it sucks for Curtis Blaydes too. But at least. He gets the win. His spot in line is not affected. He will likely, we'll get to this in a second, but he will likely be fighting the same dude he would have been fighting if he had truly won that fight. So his spot in line is not affected, but I'm sure not the way he wanted to do it.
Yeah, let's get to that. Let's talk about Curtis Blaydes, obviously we're not going to match up Tom Aspinall with a prospective opponent because who knows how long he's going to be out of action. But let's talk about Curtis Blaydes. He is the technical winner of this fight. He, quote-unquote, holds his spot in the rankings. So, Omar, let me start with you this time. Give us a name of who you think could be next for Curtis Razor Blaydes.
Well, the top of the division at this point is pretty much lined up, right? We've got Taito Ivasa fighting Cyril Gane, which I think in all respects, I think a lot of people were assuming that was probably going to be the next contender for the belt, not necessarily Curtis Blaydes. Curtis might have some other opinions on that, but, you know, that is how it works out there in the UFC sometimes. And then Derek Lewis right now is matched up against Sergey Pavlovich, which is a very tall order frankly, for both guys. Pavlovich is is an animal. That dude is a whole specimen. So that's a rough fight. Either way, Curtis just doesn't really have very many places to go at this point. And it doesn't sound like he's trying to fight for anything right now other than a belt. I don't know how much that's going to last. Realistically, if he does need to fight one more and everybody kind of needs to fight one more, if that's the case, to me, the winner of Cyril Gane Taito Ivasa probably makes the most sense, or at the very minimum, the loser of that fight. But there's just not that many options for Curtis Blaydes other than, you know, getting a title shot.
Mark, what are your thoughts? What's next for Blaydes?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think that's who he would have got if he had truly won this fight. I think it's who he's still going to get now. I think he gets the winner of Gane and Tuivasa, just because we have Ngannou hurt still. We have maybe this Bones and Stipe rumor that's been swirling for 100 years. The winner of Gane Tuivasa, and that fight's only a month away, is going to have to fight someone, and it doesn't sound like it's going to be any of those other people I just said. So I think it's going to be Curtis Blaydes.
Okay. All right. Anything else you guys want to say about Tom Aspinall or Curtis Blaydes before we move on?
Get well, Tom Aspinall. Come back and get this belt.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.